Try not to give yourself to anyone that won't be your better half, assuming that they love you on the off chance that they truly care about you, they'll look out for you. I could get on signs before long and afterward register it, digest it. And afterward go, do what I got to do, I got stories I now. I must sort out some way to recount these accounts without no names. Apparently Michael B. Jordan has arrived at his limit with every one of the shameful trickeries that occurred in the Harvey family during his experience with Lori Harvey. The succulent subtleties are going to be uncovered, so prepare for some steaming hot tea. Michael B. Jordan is at long last shouting out about the very muddled circumstance in the Harvey family. Prepare yourselves, people, since apparently Marjorie Harvey is the one making every one of the things happen and employing extreme command over everybody, including her own hubby, Steve. Stunned? Well, you shouldn't be. Nevertheless, we should rewind a digit and help you to remember the delicious origin story. Yes, my companion's Midge was once sincerely engaged with. In all honesty, Marjorie's little girl, the dazzling Lori, their romantic tale, anyway, met a dramatic finish last year, abandoning a path of subconscious pokes and public shade. Everything began with Lori posting a not-so-unpretentious message via virtual entertainment that shouted dump him, and Michael didn't keep down. Either during his appearance on Saturday Night Live, he released a huge shade bomb that was unquestionably focused on his previous buyer, introducing your melodic visitor for the night. Drake and 21 Savage playing out a tune-off of perhaps of the most interesting collection ever. Her misfortune, the separation dramatization among Lori and Michael, took a startling turn when Lori's folks chose to embed themselves squarely into the focal point of the confusion. And let me let you know that is the point at which the situation spun out of control. Once the conduits were opened, individuals started uncovering an entire universe of control coordinated by. As a matter of fact, Marjorie herself, it seems like she has been calling the shots and controlling everybody around her for a long time. You see, Marjorie met Steve at a parody club in Memphis in 1990, and Steve guaranteed it was all-consuming. Instant adoration, they began dating, and everything appeared to be sweet, yet only half a month after the fact they tapped out and headed out in a different direction. And think about what Steve let slip, that Marjorie unloaded him like the previous news, since he was destitute as a joke. Oof. Discuss a wallet breaker, yet here's where it gets shocking. Hun, quick forward to 2005. When they wound up back in one another's arms. Why, you ask? Well, clutch your caps in light of the fact that Steve had recently raised a ruckus around town time with his sitcom. The Steve Harvey give unexpectedly. Marjorie saw dollar indications and chose to offer him one more opportunity. Might you at any point fault her, who wouldn't need a piece of that distinction and fortune? Yet stand by, there's more show. At the time, Steve was crisp out of his second union with Mary Shackelford. And think about what people. Mary let the cat out of the bag later on, guaranteeing that Steve was a grimy miscreant who had an unsanctioned romance with Marjorie while they were as yet hitched. Wow. Well, Steve not just left his ex, Mary, stranded, yet additionally took their child Winton with him. And support yourselves for this in light of the fact that, as per Mary, Steve pulled a tremendously filthy move. He purportedly turned Winton against her, controlled the court procedures, and left her with literally nothing. Discuss an unfeeling move, except for rumors from far and wide suggests that Steve wasn't the genius behind this horrible control. It was, as a matter of fact, Marjorie who coordinated the whole plan. She evidently arranged everything, shrewdly persuading Steve to remove his ex. Totally, truth be told, as of late Mary got down on Marjorie, uncovering her manipulative strategies and asserting that Marjorie effectively attempted to disrupt Mary's relationship with Whitney. I simply don't have the foggiest idea about how Marjorie specifically called herself a mother to her own kids and purposely attempt to undermine my relationship with my child. Marjorie, obscure past, didn't stop at controlling connections and playing mind games. God help us, there's another side to this outrageous story. Before Marjorie became Mrs. Harvey, and rebranded herself. She had a remarkable checkered history prior to encountering Steve Marjorie. Had not one yet two past relationships. Her most memorable endeavor down the walkway was with, as a matter of fact, Jim Townsend of famous medication Top Dog Gracious. Definitely yes, she was knee somewhere down in her significant other's unlawful exercises. Or so the reports guarantee, as per various sources. The FBI and DEA became dubious of Marjorie's contribution and sent off examinations. They supposedly moved toward Jim figuring out an agreement help out them, or probably Marjorie would confront capture because of significant proof against her. Consented to let the cat out of the bag and turned out to be prosecuted for endeavoring to buy an incredible 40 kilos of cocaine. He got a lifelong incarceration and burned through 26 long years in a correctional facility prior to being absolved by President Obama in 2017. Presently, here's where it gets much more turned, people. While Jim was carrying out his punishment, Marjorie burned through no time. She separated from him 5 years after the fact, and not long after she put her focus on Darnell Woods, who incidentally turned out to be Jim's cousin and an individual street pharmacist. However, did that stop Marjorie? No way. She felt free to wed Darnell in the mid-2000s, inviting 3 youngsters into their wild world, Jason, Morgan, and Lori. Now this is where things get cloudy. My Marjorie and Steve, guaranteed they met in the last part of the 90s, had a concise excursion, and afterward reconnected in the year 2000. Sounds heartfelt, right? Well, it seems like both Marjorie and Steve were wandering from their accomplices and cheating with one another, yet we should quick forward a cycle. Once Marjorie reconnected with Steve and saw his star on the ascent, she burned through no time in unloading Darnell. And think about what soon after their split, Darnell wound up in cuffs, captured, and purportedly still in a correctional facility. In any case, in a stupendous June service, Steve and Marjorie sealed the deal, and Steve assumed the job of a caring stepfather to Marjorie's 3 youngsters. We should not forget, however, that Steve has his own brood, with twin girls Kotnik and Carly, and a child named Broderick from his most memorable marriage, alongside another child named Winton from his second union with Mary. These days, Steve and Marjorie love to dole out relationship exhortation and depict their mixed family as an image of congruity. Anyway, murmurs in the tattle factory recommend that all may not be essentially as ready as it appears to be in secret, as per a source near the Harveys, who let the cat out of the bag to Radar Online. There's pressure fermenting inside the family. Evidently, Marjorie is as yet focused on driving Lori into the spotlight and frantically attempting to find her a popular admirer. In the meantime, her different youngsters appear to be left in the shadows, getting little consideration or backing discuss preference. The insider uncovered that Marjorie holds the reins of influence in the Harvey family, with Lori as her great protege. It appears Marjorie isn't simply an expert controller in connections, yet in addition an orchestrator of her little girl's heartfelt interests. Yet that is not all. Bits of hearsay have surfaced that the gifted entertainer Michael B. Jordan had a hunch about Marjorie from the beginning. Evidently, he felt like regardless of how he helped Lori, it was never sufficient difficulty prepared as Marjorie supposedly intruded in their relationship. And surprisingly, after their separation, she apparently tossed conceal at Michael by sharing an enigmatic clasp of entertainer Jennifer Lewis, with a message accepted to be aimed at the entertainer himself. He was sitting too lengthy. You can quit smelling music. Yet isn't it very entertaining how Marjorie helpfully tried not to toss shade at specific exes of Lori's? Take, for instance, the rapper Future might'd at any point be on the grounds that she realized Future wouldn't keep down and would uncover Lori, while Michael B. Jordan would deal with it with class and cease from answering. Now, you may be asking why Marjorie didn't think Midge was reasonable for her girl, when he plainly outperforms Lori as far as private accomplishments. While nothing has been authoritatively affirmed, tales are coursing that Michael needed to wed Lori and requested that she sign a prenup And get this, Marjorie, who was purportedly against the possibility of prenups, convinced Lori to break things not entirely oak with Michael. And continue on toward the following one concerning Michael. It seems he was truly enamored with Lori, and their separation negatively affected him, regardless sources near him. Uncover that looking back, Michael accepts he avoided a disaster. He never preferred the degree of Marjorie's impact over Lori. And he immovably trusts that in the event that he had hitched Marjorie, would have likely endeavored to control his life too. In the meantime, fans are with him on this one, and concur that without a doubt he avoided a disaster that is insane. I wouldn't actually need somebody like that around me, let alone seeing someone be Jorden. Certainly avoided a disaster, one fan composed a subsequent one added Mojdef avoided a disaster. How about we be genuine? Marjorie and her kid have all the earmarks of being utilizing individuals who have implies as venturing stones. How you go from one street pharmacist for clearly cash to his cousin again to be kept in afterward. When Steve springs up, you dump that one for Steve, assuming that Steve loses everything today. She will presumably phantom happy he got out some of the time. God eliminates individuals. And we might get injured simultaneously, yet it's consistently your security, a third fan added. And a fourth one went on to remark on Marjorie's plotting ways, composing what's so insane is he embraced her children, and two of them were developed at the time like there was no requirement for that. Marjorie simply need to be certain those children cut grandchildren are in the will. When it's that time, she's exceptionally slay. While Michael has an unequivocally faulted Marge for the finish of his sentiment with Lori, it's difficult to disregard the unquestionable impact she had over their relationship. At any rate, that is all there is to it for this video, people. Bye.